Do you know what a quadcopter is? Well, you may know it by their more common name, drones. Well, drone racing is becoming increasingly popular in the UK, so who better to dive into this world than our reporter Joe Pocock? He's been to meet a racing club in Gravesend.
I found myself doing something rather unusual today. Something I've never seen before, not like this anyway. You're probably wondering what the sounds are. Sounds like I'm in a giant beehive. Well, not far off with these things flying around. I am actually with the Kent Quadcopter Racing Club. Quadcopters, if you don't know, basically drones. These are becoming really popular, and this is an increasing sport. I'm currently watching a heat, a few drones flying around, crashing into each other. But throughout the show, I'm going to be finding out what is the appeal of drone racing and, well, just how easy or how hard this is. There we go, one that's just crashed down in front of me. Oh, that'll take some repairing. Well, that's the first heat of drone racing underway. Got a couple here flying past me just through the start gate. Nick Jones is here, who's with the KQRC. Have I got that right?
Yeah, you have.
What does that stand for?
Kent Quadcopter Racing Club.
Okay, so is this everybody here as part of the club?
There are a few more people, but they can't get on with indoor racing. It's too tight for them.
Okay.
So they're waiting until the chance that they can go back outside again.
So we've got 2 seasons now. We've got the indoor during the winter, I imagine.
Yes, yeah. In the winter we're indoors, so we can keep going through the whole year, really.
So for people who are blissfully unaware, what is quadcopter racing?
Quadcopter racing is where we can build our own quadcopters with cameras that then transmit a video to a set of goggles, so we can see what the quadcopter is seeing. So we're then able to fly through gaps that are quite small and at some speed.
So the guys over here who are just across the other side of this, let's call it an arena for us,
Yeah.
they're not looking at their drones, they're just sitting down with the goggles on, which all looks a bit odd.
Yeah, it does. For someone who doesn't really understand, it does look a bit silly. But when you strap a pair of goggles on, it's a completely different world.
So there's just camera mounted on every drone, you say?
Yeah, every drone has a camera on it. Some have 2 cameras, one for filming round the course and one for actually looking through.
So we've got a couple of crashed guys out here at the moment, but still a few hacking rounds.
Yeah.
How do we know who's in front, who's going to win when it comes to the end of this first heat?
We know who wins by the lap timing system that we have. So every time they go past a gate, it tracks their time. The person with the quickest time wins.
Okay. And yourself, how do you normally fare when you're racing?
Not very well. I spend most of my time organising most of the time, but recently I've been trying to get back into it, and I'm speeding up a little bit more.
Okay, you have been shouting the orders around, keeping the group in tip-top shape, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it. Just keeping everyone in order.
So there's a drone down there. In fact, there are a couple I've mentioned that are crashed. Do these look like they're in bits? Is this a problem, or are these quite easy to fix?
No, they're fairly easy to fix, and cheap as well. Props range between probably £1 to £5.
Okay.
And the motors are the real things, because where drone racing has come along in such a way, people that make the motors have stepped up their game, and they can charge that a little bit more for them.
Right, well, is this the end of the heat now?
That is the end of the heat, yes.
Do we know who's won, or do we have to find out a bit later?
We'll find out a bit later.
Okay, all right. Well, also come back to me a bit later on, because I'm going to be having a look at these goggles and seeing what it's like through the eyes of the drone itself. Well, we've just had a couple of heats here, and I've had a go with the goggles as well, which are interesting, but there's a lot more kit to it. David Allen's here, who's part of the club. Hi, David.
Hiya.
I thought you could maybe talk me through some of your kit, because it all looks well beyond my head.
Yeah, a lot of it is still developing, and it's come out of the mobile phone industry, the gyros, the electronics that are with it, and of course the battery technology that's now around. A few years ago, the batteries to fly this sort of equipment would have weighed too much for the quad to actually take off, so it's very new technology. It's only a couple of years out.
Do they drink a lot of power, the batteries?
Yeah, this is, well, actually, my quad here can draw more power than my house does, but only for 10 seconds at a time.
Okay, no, it's not going to power your whole block then?
No. 60 amps is a fairly common draw for one of these quads.
So talk me through your quadcopter then, and sort of, is this quite common for what we've got here today?
Yeah, this is a fairly typical setup. So we've got a carbon fibre frame. We've got motors here which are originated from CDs many years ago. We've got a controller for them because there's a device that's needed to make sure these run at the same speed and the same torque the whole time. And right in the heart there's a flight controller. There's umpteen different versions of the software for that, which tells the model to stay level or tilt forward or rotate as necessary.
Okay. And of course there's got to be connections from here to your controller as well, and also the goggles.
Yeah, the goggles, they're fantastic. They really have developed over the last few years as well. So we transmit back from the quad to the goggles on 5.8 gigahertz.
So is this your antenna here, basically?
Yeah, that's a 2 metre long pole with an antenna on top. It will go around about 200 or 300 metres, something like that, quite safely, and give me a fairly reasonable picture. You do have to make it up in your mind sometimes when the picture blats out, but that's part of the practice.
You love all this, don't you?
It's been hard for me. I'm one of the older ones here, so I've struggled with it. But yeah, it's good fun. It's nice to come home, get away from work, and tinker with this sort of thing in the evening.
How do you get into it in the first place?
Well, I've been flying model aircraft for a long time. This all started by me getting on Facebook, finding this group, and then I joined in with these guys. And it's a great time. Every Sunday we get together, and yeah, inside in the winter, outside in the summer.
And inside today we've got this course marked out with these little cones.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what you do when you've got the goggles on? You follow sort of cone by cone and go through the gates?
Yeah, it's quite difficult because when you tilt the model down, your view changes. Your human eye is fantastic and you're looking around all the time. Of course, you've got an absolutely fixed field of view out the front of the model. So when your head's down and you're going forward, you need to follow the cones on the ground. If you follow the cones, you come to the gates. If you follow the gates, you come to the flags.
All right, well, I think we've got a couple of heats starting up again in just a second, so we'll see how you get on.
Thank you. Well, let's hope.
Well, these guys with their drones are all very experienced. You can probably tell I'm trying hard to concentrate because what I'm doing is I'm not having a go on a real drone. I don't want to crash anything and cause people a lot of money problems, but I've got a simulator here. This is on David's laptop. David, how real to life is this simulator then?
It's a really good start, an idea of how to get the drone up in the air, what the basic controls are, but to do it properly and competitively, you've got to go out in the field and practice.
But this gives us an idea, doesn't it? Because there are a few gates here, and I suppose I could try and get through a gate if I didn't crash.
Yeah, this is the idea of the racing, really. If we go out into a field with no obstacles and we take these things up in the air, it gets very boring very quickly. But what we like doing is actually having an element of competition in it, and we're trying to race around a circuit. We've got lap timers, we've got spotters, we've got all sorts of things to ensure fair competition.
Do you know what? I think I might leave this to the professionals here, because this really isn't going well for me at the moment.
It's only practice. We all started like this.
So you're here today spectating, I understand?
Yes, I come here most weeks to watch because I've got a much bigger drone that I fly outdoors. It's much too big for in here, but you can learn a lot from watching these guys, particularly if you put the goggles on and watch how they go around corners and things. When you're flying outside, you can go really high round corners and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In here, if you go really high, you hit the roof. So it teaches you to fly very tidily.
But for people who thought, yeah, you know what, I'd like to maybe start a bit of drone racing, how would they find you, first of all?
We're on Facebook under Kent Quadcopter Club. We also have a website at www.kqrc.co.uk.
And what's next for the Kent Quadcopter Racing Club?
In a few weeks we'll be back out into our outdoor venue, which we started off at, and then we'll be holding the Kent Quadcopter League. And that will be starting at the 6th of June.
Oh, they were fantastic. Well, I can just see the amount of support you've got here today, and all you guys racing the drones just shows how popular this sport is becoming.